This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, greatly appreciate all of you for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. And I appreciate a brand new sponsor here on the Niners Report. All of your support allows us to bring in new sponsors like Rhule. You can get 20% off your order by going to rhone.com/chat using the promo code chat. Prior to Chat Sports, I worked in the local news business, and I really struggle to find dress shirts that look good and actually fit me. That's where Rhone comes in. Stretchable fabric, breathable fabric, and it's so comfortable. We'll tell you more about them coming up here in just a few moments. So on today's show, going to take a look at the latest 49ers trade rumors, and could San Francisco go big game hunting and try to wheel and deal, upgrade this roster by making a deal and making a splash for Christian McCaffrey, maybe even Brian Burns. This coming after the Carolina Panthers fired Matt Rhule because the Niners so dominant in that game on Sunday that the owner, David Tepper, said, you know what? I don't like the direction of this franchise. We need to restart, and the Niners put that in motion. Now, hopefully, they didn't look at the opposing sideline at DeMeco Ryans and say, we need to bring him in as the head coach because DeMeco Ryans has been able to make it happen, but could the Niners poach some of the really good players on that Panthers roster? Let's start off with Christian McCaffrey. We know that the 49ers backfield is a little bit thin. Elijah Mitchell out for a little while still with that MCL injury. Ty Davis-Price did work out on the field in Charlotte prior to that game, so he's getting a little bit closer. But right now, it's really been the Jeff Wilson show. Tevin Coleman was activated to the active roster, and he was so good on Sunday. But none of the backs on this team are of the caliber of Christian McCaffrey. And we know that the Niners' bread and butter, with Kyle Shanahan calling the plays, is running the football. They're thin at running back and CMC in this offense. Can you envision it? Can you imagine it? Whoa. That's the one word that comes to mind. Now, this tweet was sent out by Tom Pelissero on Monday after the news of Rhule being fired was made official. The Panthers haven't had trade talks about Christian McCaffrey with the Bills or any other team this offseason or this season per sources. Carolina already paid most of his $8.6 million salary in a bonus, but here's where it gets interesting. Every team will be working the phones the next few weeks, but nothing in the works with CMC right now. Now, how do you take that? I take it as the Panthers are open to maybe dealing McCaffrey. Maybe they haven't had any conversations up to this point, but they might. And if a team blows them away with an offer, why not trade away a running back who's really expensive? Also, could they say something like this to increase the value and the asking price of McCaffrey because those gymnastics are always at play? Now, we're bringing up Christian McCaffrey, not to slight Jeff Wilson. Shout out to Jeff Wilson. The UNT alum has been balling out this year. Good for him, coming off that really serious knee injury that he dealt with last year. And he's shown some glimpses throughout his Niners career of being that guy. And I love how Kyle Shanahan uses him as a running back, as a guy who at times throughout his Niners career in that scarlet red has been a lead blocker. But as a running back this year, he really has been great. And it goes to show you the level of production that the Niners get from their backs. 74 carries for J-Dub, 375 yards, average yards per carry at 5.1 with 2 touchdowns, and really over the last month consecutive since Elijah Mitchell went out early in the year, Jeff Wilson has been the go-to back. He's really been carrying the load in an impressive fashion. And while he's had a great year, Jeff Wilson, folks, is not Christian McCaffrey as a runner, as an athlete, as a weapon, as a pass catcher. And what makes McCaffrey so special, it's not only the running and catching ability. It's the fact that he can catch balls out of the backfield, but he can also line up at wide receiver in that slot because the numbers that he's been able to put up really are ridiculous. And in 2018-2019, they were to historic levels. 32 games played those 2 years. And obviously the story with McCaffrey in 2020-2021, the last 2 years prior to this one, only 10 games played as he was consistently injured. But you see the level of playmaker that he is. 2018-19, he combined 506 carries, nearly 2,500 rushing yards, 223 receptions, which is virtually unheard of for a running back, nearly 2,000 receiving yards, and 32 total touchdowns. His level of production this year hasn't quite been that good, but keep in mind, But the Panthers are dead last in a lot of offensive categories. They have bad quarterback play, and that lends itself to McCaffrey not having as good of a year, but still, he's been a productive back. 72 totes, 325 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, still being utilized somewhat as a pass catcher, 26 grabs for 188 yards. But honestly, I think that the Carolina Panthers should be more aggressive in involving him in the pass game, and they haven't utilized him as such. Now, we're going to continue to break down Christian McCaffrey. We're also going to talk about Brian Burns coming up around the corner, because Brian Burns and Nick Bosa would give the Niners a tantalizing 1-2 punch at that edge rusher spot. But first, you see the shirt that I'm rocking? It's coming from Rome. You want a shirt like this that'll make you look good and feel good and play good? Well, you get 20% off by heading to roan.com/chat. Use the promo code chat. The dress shirt, if you think about it, was due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter shirt, which is the one that I'm wearing, the most comfortable, breathable, flexible shirt known to man, and here's why. Their comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way. Your commute to work, or you playing 18 holes of golf, because they have golf polos as well. It's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt. You don't see a wrinkle on this shirt right now without the hassle with Rhone's wrinkle release technology. Wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the shirt. It's that easy. And with Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. So, promo code chat at roan.com/chat. You get 20% off your order. And like I said prior to Chat Sports, I was wearing a lot of dress shirts and I hated it. I had to, because I was working as a local news reporter. I wish I would have had my hands on some Rhone shirts back in the day, because I would have looked better, and they're slim fit as well. Multiple sizes available. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. So, McCaffrey in this offense. Let's pivot back to the main talking point at play here. Kyle Shanahan can run him in between the tackles. He can run him out to the perimeter because he still has that speed. You saw it in that game on Sunday. He made a couple of really nice plays, and he can utilize his route tree, wheel routes, bubble screens, him being used as a slot wide receiver. Shoot, Shanahan in this offense sometimes has backs out wide at that X spot. McCaffrey can fulfill all of those roles. Now, a little bit earlier during our live show, some people were asking, how much would Christian McCaffrey cost? To trade for him, the Panthers probably going to want a nice little draft compensation, but also in terms of a salary cap hit, he's a pretty expensive player. Now, this year, pretty manageable, $8.7 million, but as Tom Pelissero noted, the Panthers have paid a lot of that. But next year for a running back, $19.5 million. 2024, it's the same price tag. 2025 dips down to $15.5 million. Then he becomes an unrestricted free agent at 30 years old in 2026. So the positives, you get a really special player. The negatives, he's really expensive. But also, he's under team control for a little while. Also a potential out after this year. Some dead money at play as well. With running backs, though, I don't really like paying them big money. I think it's a pretty expendable and replaceable position. Look no further than the San Francisco 49ers. It seems as though since Kyle Shanahan came here in 2017, they've been able to produce at really high levels regardless of who the running back is. That's the beauty of the design, the scheme, as well as the play calls. The Niners get production from everywhere. They're getting it this year from Jeff Wilson. Last year, Elijah Mitchell in his rookie campaign, top 5 in rushing yards per game. And it would be a luxury, though, to have a legitimate number 1 running back, which is why we're having this conversation, and which is why a lot of people who are in the faithful family would like for the Niners to trade for Christian McCaffrey, because while all these backs have been successful, to have that go-to guy that you know that you can count on week in, week out, it would be a luxury to have, but honestly, it's a luxury. I'm not sure if it's a need. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and type my P for pass on Christian McCaffrey. What would you do, though? You're playing the role of John Lynch, the general manager for San Francisco. T for trade, P for pass, embrace debate during the comment section down below. Another Panthers target, though, who might be more appealing to some people out there, it's Brian Burns, who is a premier edge rusher who could also be had if the Carolina Panthers decide to go full sell. He's been one of the best edge rushers in the game since getting drafted in the first round out of Florida State back in 2019, and this year, one of the best edge rushers in the sport behind Nick Bosa. 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, 6 tackles for loss, 1 pass breakup. And already with Nick Bosa, you see how other players benefit from him being on the field because of all the double teams that go his way. Well, if Brian Burns and Nick Bosa are both on the field, you can't double team either one of them. And if you do, that opens up a lot of pass rushing lanes for the defensive tackles like Charles Omenihu to get home on the opposing quarterback. And Burns, since he came into the league, as I said, he's been getting it done. You look at his numbers during his rookie campaign, 7.5 sacks. 2020, 9 sacks. Last year, 9 sacks. And this year, we just showed you those numbers. He's off once again to a very good start. And in terms of pass rush pressure rate, he is second in the NFL behind the Bear, number 97. In Nick Bosa. We're talking about a truly elite and special talent who is also somewhat affordable with his contract as he's under contract for 1 more year in 2023. He's only 24 years old. That base salary next year of $16 million even, which if you're getting double-digit sacks with the going rate of premier edge rushers in the game today, $16 million for a guy the caliber of Brian Burns actually is a pretty good going rate for a player of that caliber. But also factor in they're going to have to pay big money to Nick Bosa as well. But let's just look at this from a dream scenario. And maybe it's fantasy land, as a lot of people will probably say in the comment section. But we're having fun talking football, and that's what we do here on the channel. Burns and Bosa. Not only would that be a really good shirt, let's call dibs on that if it happens, but they could be the best edge rushing combo in the NFL. And that is so appealing and tantalizing to think about. But why you wouldn't do the deal and why you don't really need Brian Burns, well, the Niners have the deepest defensive line in the National Football League. They have the most sacks in the NFL. And regardless of who is out there, they continue to hunt against the quarterback on the opposing sideline. Samson Ebukam, Charles Omenihu, Hassan Ridgeway, Kerry Hyder Jr., Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson. The list goes on and on and on. Chris Kosaric, best defensive line coach in the NFL. He continues to develop defensive linemen at a stupid rate. Some chat stats here as well before we hop on out of here for this particular segment. Niners leading the NFL, as I said, with 21 sacks. Their sack rate is 10%. That is the best mark of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era since this current regime took over back in 2017. Scary hours for opposing offenses, regardless of who is along this defensive line. And even if Nick Bosa can't go in this game against the Atlanta Falcons, I would sit him once again. You don't want to mess with that groin. His brother tore his groin in Joey Bosa. He's going to be out, best case scenario, until the end of the season. That's an injury that if you further that type of injury, he could be lost for an extended period of time. Just sit him out against the Atlanta Falcons. You're good enough and deep enough along the defensive line to survive without him, and either way, whether he's on the field or not, still going to be scary hours for opposing offenses. Our last poll question for today's show. If you had to trade for one, who would you trade for? CM for Run CMC, BB for Brian Burns. Let us know right now down below.